Hello, everybody. Good evening. Erev Tov. If you haven't grabbed a seat yet, so there is a lot of seats open here, so you can come a little bit closer, so we kind of going to see you all. And we're going to start the program. I know you haven't seen each other for a while, and it's a great opportunity to engage and to talk, but we have a very long program for tonight, and we don't want to keep you here for, past 9. So let's get started. So once again, good evening. Erev Tov, everybody.
Erev Tov.
Yes, and thank you all for joining us tonight for the 2022 Distinguished Service Award. And this time, in person. What a surprise. I'm Anna Sazonov, the Columbia Jewish Federation Executive Director. And I'm very grateful that tonight we have the opportunity to honor our friend and community leader, Ben Stern. We also have the privilege of welcoming Michael Masters of the Community Security Network. And you will hear, yes, thank you, and you will hear more from him tonight.
Good evening. I'm Kenny Berger, and I am the president of the Columbia Jewish Federation. In addition to Bill and Michael, we are so appreciative to see and celebrate with each of you on this, a night of service and community togetherness. And before we move into the evening's program, we'd ask that those who are seated, please rise for the national anthem. Well, it is football season, so play ball and have a seat. All right, some of you I know have decades of experience with the Columbia Jewish Federation. For others, this may be an introduction. No matter your experience, we're extremely proud to, in just a moment, share some of the Federation highlights with each of you. We have an amazing community, and we have an incredible Federation that's engaged in some extraordinary activities that are impacting Jews in our community here at home, but also in Israel and around the world.
Wow. What a time it has been. Throughout the enormous challenges of the past few years, the Columbia Jewish community stayed strong and connected, not only to each other, but also with our brothers and sisters from Ukraine and beyond. The Federation supports and serves our community. The impact reports that you found in your chairs provides the numbers. But it's not the numbers. It's the faces. It's the stories and the impacts beyond the numbers. We would like to take a moment to highlight them.
So PJ Library, and I spent a couple years on the Federation board thinking that PJ stood for something Jewish. It turns out it stands for pajamas. And the reason, I didn't know. Professional Judaism, books for children. But it stands for PJs. And the reason it stands for PJs is it's a chance for young Jewish children while in their pajamas to be able to receive Jewish literature that they can have there with their family. Our PJ Library and PJ Our Way sends free Jewish children's books to families not just in this community, but throughout the world every month. These books and related program engage families raising kids from birth through 12 years old with Judaism right there as an important part of their lives at home with their parents.
Summer camps. The overnight Jewish summer camp experience is an integral part of meaningful Jewish experience. Columbia Jewish Federation is here to help to provide an enriching summer camp experience to children in our community.
Then we have Hillel, and some of you met our wonderful Hillel volunteers this evening. If I could see without the spotlight, I'd see you waving. Hillel has seen a resurgence at the University of South Carolina. We have tremendous student leadership, and we also have tremendous support provided by the Jewish Federation. Hillel gives young Jews a chance for Jewish life on campus while providing a safe, inclusive community for all Jewish students, regardless of background or practice.
The young adult division, and you have some young adults here, so you can raise your hand and wave, or are you interacting with them? I'm one of them. Yay.
I used to be.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. So the Young Adult Division is an active young Jewish community that is shaping a vibrant Jewish future at home in Israel and around the world. And I'm happy to be part of this group and shape the future with them.
Yeah, our future's bright here. As many of you know, and it's at the heart of a lot of people's passion when it comes to the Columbia Jewish Federation. And it's our Jewish Family Service, and that's the place where people in need in the Columbia Jewish community can come. The mission of Jewish Family Service is to promote, strengthen, and preserve individual, family, and community well-being in a manner consistent with our Jewish philosophy and our Jewish values.
The Rendezvous Lounge. So many of you know the Rendezvous Lounge. It's a fabulous place where members from the ages 60 plus create a community, and they come together to socialize, have fun, and have friends. And they're having a great time, believe me. I've been to some of their activities, and boy, I wish to be part of their community.
Yeah, if there's Chick-fil-A, I'll go. We even have rendezvous room without Chick-fil-A on Sundays. The Jewish Community Relations Council, that's the wing or branch of Federation that's here to educate and advocate on issues of vital importance to our Jewish community, including anti-Semitism. And Cheryl Nail and others have just done a tremendous job helping lead CRC as part of the direct impact that Federation provides.
Well, Ukraine. My home, basically. So as you heard before, as part of our mission, we support Jews at home in Israel and around the world. The moment the war started, Columbia Jewish Federation joined other Jewish federations across North America to fulfill our obligation to Tikkun Olam, Klal Yisrael, and Tzedakah. As part of a national emergency funding, we found our partner organization, and they operated services on the ground in Ukraine. As you guys know, I spent 2 weeks working on the borders of Ukraine and Poland to serve and provide services for our brothers and sisters from Ukraine. And our partner organization doing this work year after year, day after day, and especially today.
Yeah, so we're the Columbia Jewish Federation, and this is obviously the Distinguished Service Award evening. We think it's important to highlight, however, the work that's being done in Ukraine, the work that's also being done in Israel. Everything that we do here ultimately ripples out, and the beauty that exists is that we reach Israel in many ways directly, and the support that we provide for our partner organizations in Israel helps ensure that every Jew who wants to live in Israel, every Jew who wants to make Aliyah can. We fund programs that help provide equal access to economic and educational opportunities while supporting initiatives that encourage religious diversity, along with social equality.
The Secure Community Network is the official safety and security organization of the Jewish community in North America. With your help, Columbia Jewish Federation is committing of protecting the spaces that our local Jewish community gathers. And you're going to hear more about the security initiative from Michael Masters in a few minutes.
You look at these pictures. Pictures are worth thousands of words. We found that videos are worth even more. And Anna put some beautiful words in the video that she now wants to share with all of you.
Yes, and as you guys heard before, from lockdown to reopening, from peace to war, from certainty to uncertainty, our Jewish community kept going strong. Now we go forwards.
Join us. Join us as we do it. I got a bunch of my favorite rabbis in the room tonight. One that I met after I got home from Israel for the first time is shortly after he'd arrived in Columbia, and that's Rabbi Jonathan Case, and Rabbi Case is going to provide tonight's Devar Torah. Rabbi Case, I can't see you with the spotlight, but wherever you are, come on. I see you now. Come on up.
If I may, I'd like to share a secret with you, a secret that has been lost for probably the better part of several centuries. The secret is the book of Deuteronomy, which you know, that's no secret, has a Hebrew name, Devarim, that too is no secret. But what is not known is it has a far older name, which is called Mishnah Torah, because the book of Deuteronomy is Moses' reckoning of everything that is so important to him before he dies that he tells the Jewish people, in his own words, what's most vital. What is amazing to me is that this week Moses utters the following words to the people. He says, if you're hungry and you want to eat some eggs and you see them in a nest up on a tree, make sure that you take the mother bird and shoo it away so that the mother cannot see that you're stealing her eggs for food. That you should always have such rachmanis, such compassion on a mother bird, that you shoo it away to make sure that it's not seeing its children taken away. Now that's not found in the Torah. That's found in the Mishnah Torah. Moses' Torah, his understanding of what God wants of us to do. And what I understand from that, Moses is also called the faithful shepherd by Kabbalah, by the mystic tradition. What Moses is conveying to me, and what I understand most keenly from this very small segment from the book of Mishnah Torah, is that we're supposed to care for the most minute creatures, the grand ones that Moses carries 1.5 million people on a 40-year journey through the desert, and the little birds and their offspring. We're here to honor this evening part of the Distinguished Service Award, evening to Ben Stern. And I don't think I'm out of bounds by comparing him to Moses in this very sense. Here's a man who cares for the international scene. Here's a man who looks after our people, our children, our brethren in Israel. Here's a man who looks after our nation, who cares intensely about our own state in South Carolina, whose vision goes down, drills down into Columbia. And then there's this other expansiveness that encompasses the Jewish community as a whole, the people that Moses cared so very deeply about, the morality, the depth, the care, the wonder. Bill and I have spoken a couple of times, well, maybe more than a couple, and one thing that I've learned from him is the power that his parents gave to him to nurture the next generation of Jews that did not know the Holocaust, that did not live through the fires of hell, and to feed this next generation and to care for those things that were of grand stature and those things that are of small stature, the little ones, the children, the ones that are bereft and alone. It is an honor to pay tribute to Bill Stern this evening as the DSA recipient, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is just like Moses, the faithful shepherd, that's looking out for each one of us on an individual basis and on the macro level as well. Moses would be very proud tonight.
When you go back to the time of Moses all the way up to today, two constants have been the Jews as well as anti-Semitism. And with the rise of anti-Semitism across North America, including here in Columbia, our Jewish Federation has and continues to invest resources and security to protect Jewish lives. We're fortunate to be one of the few smaller Jewish communities to have a partnership with the Secure Community Network, and over the last 12 months have followed their lead to increase our individual and collective safety.
Tonight we have a great pleasure to hear from the Secure Community Network CEO, Michael Masters, who will share more about the security across the Jewish communities of North America. And thanks to Secure Community Network, each one of us is safer. Michael, the stage is yours.
Good evening. It is a real honor and a pleasure to be here this evening, particularly speaking during your Distinguished Service Award, and I just want to recognize the incredible service of Bill Stern to this community, and not just to this community, but to our Jewish community nationally and internationally. It's an honor to be here and speak on such an evening. A big round of applause for him. For many of us who have served both in the military and in law enforcement, a decision to do so was made 21 years ago this Sunday, on September 11, 2001. It's a time of deep reflection for many of us. As I go back to that day, I think about the fact that 246 people got up that morning in preparation for their morning flights. 2,606 people woke up and got ready to go to work. 343 firefighters prepared for their shift. So too did 60 police officers and 8 paramedics. In total, 3,263 people woke up intending to have a normal Tuesday. They wouldn't live to see September 12th. Each of those individuals has a story. Some we know, many we do not. But of those we know, there are some amazing testimonials to the courage, conviction, and resiliency of the human spirit. At 8:46 a.m. on the morning of September 11th, 2001, when American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center, a former second lieutenant in the United States Army, a decorated Vietnam veteran, was sitting at his desk on the 44th floor of the South Tower. Hearing the explosion, he looked across and he saw the North Tower in flames. When an announcement came over the PA system urging people to stay at their desks, that individual, Rick Rescorla, didn't listen. Rick Rescorla, the security director for Morgan Stanley, went to work. Grabbing a bullhorn and a walkie-talkie, he began systematically evacuating employees. He continued to do so after United Airlines Flight 175 slammed into the North Tower at 9:03 a.m., shaking the building. As he was evacuating people, he stopped and called his wife. He told her he loved her. He told her he was going to get more people out. When one of his colleagues told him he had to get to safety, Rescorla replied somewhat casually, "As soon as I make sure everyone else is out." Rick Rescorla, who had worked in the tower since 1985, was last seen on the 10th floor, heading up, shortly before the South Tower collapsed at 9:59 a.m. Since as early as 1998, when Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over Lockerbie, Scotland, Rick had worried about an attack on the towers. In 1990, he helped author a report that identified security weaknesses in the building. The report was ignored. It would be those exact weaknesses that would be exploited in 1993 when a truck bomb exploded in the parking garage of the World Trade Center. Over the course of the next 8 years, Rescorla worked relentlessly to train employees on what to do in an incident, on how to evacuate. Time after time, drill after drill, he would annoyingly interrupt the CEO of Morgan Stanley in conference meetings to do a drill. He knew that failing to prepare was preparing to fail, and he was not going to fail. Rick Rescorla was one of 3,263 people that died on 9/11. But in the process, through his courage and his commitment, he successfully evacuated nearly all of Morgan Stanley's 2,687 employees that day. We are fortunate to have the Rick Rescorlas of the world, seeing ahead, training people. In trying moments, these individuals stay calm, providing reassuring direction and literally a path to safety. The 9/11 report noted that the attacks on our country were due in part due to a failure of imagination. Rick Rescorla's imagination did not fail him. Since 9/11, our imagination has been further tested, and as a country, as a Jewish community under threat, we cannot allow our imaginations to fail us. From Paris to Pittsburgh, Manchester to Muncie, New York, and from Copenhagen to right here in Columbia, the threats we face not only as Americans but certainly as Jews are not only real and diverse, but they are also more dangerous every day. At once both international and domestic, unimpeded by boundaries, assisted by technology, and fed by hate, extremism, and a virulent anti-Semitism. They don't distinguish between urban and rural, Ashkenazic or Sephardic. Prior to the pandemic, as we all know, we saw 4 deadly attacks on our community. We have continued to see a rise in hate crimes directed against our community and increases in anti-Semitic incidents. 58% of all religiously motivated hate crimes in this country, 3 times higher than the next group, are directed at us as Jews. In the past 18 months, we have seen a doubling of the number of terrorism investigations by the FBI in this country to over 2,700. That is 7 a day. Attacks thwarted in Miami, Kansas, Las Vegas, Tampa, Pittsburgh, many of them directed against our Jewish community. Sun Tzu once said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." It's a question of whether we truly know and understand our enemy. While we have made incredible tactical advances against terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, eliminating leadership and reducing their territory, we haven't fully limited their appeal. When we killed bin Laden, we killed a messenger but not a message. And that message has spread farther than its father could have ever imagined, from the Balkans to Bali and from the western shores of Africa to Southeast Asia, and right here at home. Today, these groups are stronger than ever. On the eve of September 11th, bin Laden had 400 pledged fighters. Today, our government now recognizes 4 times as many Islamist terrorist groups as existed on the eve of 9/11, and many of those groups not only target our country, but often and specifically the state of Israel and our Jewish community. At the same time, while events since September 11th have focused our attention on Islamist-related ideologies, the threat posed by some of our oldest and most well-known enemies, white supremacists and Nazis, have not only persisted but grown dramatically. Since September 11, 2001, the majority of deadly extremist attacks in the United States, over 80% of them, were undertaken by individuals who subscribe to these supremacist, racially motivated Nazi views, all of which feed off a hatred of our community. And at the same time, we face an increase in targeted violence, a mass attack on average every 15 days in this country. Buffalo, Laguna, Uvalde. A supermarket, church, school. Over half of all active shooters in this country identify with anti-Semitic views. These cases highlight the diversity of the threats we face as a society and as a Jewish community, but they also highlight something else. They highlight how, whether we are in a school, at a JCC, or a synagogue, we all have a part to play in keeping our community secure, our nation safe, and our families away from harm. We will not control the time and place of the next incident, but we can control our preparedness, and we don't need to look far to see how. The morning of January 15th began like most other Shabbats for the members of Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas. Since COVID, a few dedicated members of the synagogue arrived early to help set up the synagogue. That morning, Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker was running a bit behind. It was Shabbat Shirah, and he had spent extra time preparing to sing the Song of the Sea, the words sung by our ancestors upon their deliverance from the Egyptians. That morning, Rabbi Charlie wouldn't get a chance to sing that song, for a new enemy would present itself in Colleyville, Texas, of all places, at Congregation Beth Israel. Malik Faisal Akram arrived in the United States on December 29th after traveling from London to JFK Airport in New York on a tourist visa. He spent several days in New York before making his way to Dallas, Texas. And for the next 2 weeks, Akram stayed at missionaries and homeless shelters before, on January 13th, illegally purchasing a firearm. On January 15th, he showed up on the doorsteps of Congregation Beth Israel. And for 45 minutes, he sat quietly, almost respectfully, through services. It was only when Rabbi Charlie turned his back for the first time on the congregation to recite the Amidah that silence was broken, the unmistakable sound of a round being chambered in a 9mm handgun piercing the air. The members of the congregation, all of whom would soon be hostages, recognized the sound. And with that sound, the silence not only of our Amidah prayer was broken, but the calm of another Shabbat, not just in Colleyville, but across the country and the world. On the day of that attack, the Secure Community Network, or SCN, mobilized immediately. Our 24/7, 365-day duty desk, a part of our National Jewish Security Operations Command Center, located the live stream on Facebook and alerted the local Federation security director, Jay's colleague, who immediately began deploying to the incident. SCN notified the leadership of the FBI and DHS of the unfolding event, and then worked closely and throughout the day with the network of security directors around the country, as well as with local, state, and federal law enforcement. 11 hours later, Jeff Cohen, the vice president of the synagogue, Rabbi Charlie, and the other hostages would be free and physically uninjured. But I want to be very clear about something. As Jeff Cohen noted, they weren't rescued. They escaped. And Jeff has credited their survival and their escape with the training provided to them by SCN, the same training that Jay Roebuck has delivered as part of the partnership between the Federation here in Columbia with SCN to you and your community. August 22nd, 2021 was a day that saved Jewish lives. That was the day that SCN team members, coordinating with the Jewish Federation of Fort Worth, delivered training at the synagogue. That training related to recognizing suspicious behavior as well as preparing for a critical incident, what to do during an active threat event. And that training on August 22nd was not a one-off. It was part of a series of trainings that we did with every synagogue and institution, Jewish institution in Tarrant County, because we're not going to choose the time and place of the next incident. And we couldn't have predicted that Akram would have walked into Congregation Beth Israel as opposed to one of the other 5 synagogues in Fort Worth. Those hostages were just several of the over 17,000 members of the Jewish community that we worked together between federations and SCN to train last year. The work that happened before, during, and after the events in Colleyville is part of our effort to build a security shield over the Jewish community. We learned from the Talmud, Ein somhin al chines. We don't rely on miracles. We pray for them, and we hope for them, but we don't rely on them. Jeff Cohen, Rabbi Charlie, the other hostages did the hard work on January 15th, but they were not alone, and it wasn't a miracle. This Jewish community, all of us as part of this federation, collective system, were with them, and Jewish lives were saved. And while thankfully we did that work at Congregation Beth Israel, there are too many facilities and too many Jews who have not been reached. Every synagogue in America must be trained. Every member of our Jewish community must be trained. Every member of the community, regardless of facility. And that training has to be professional, it has to be detailed, and it must be ongoing. And this is exactly the work that SCN is working to address in partnership with federations, national partners, and communities across the country, to include right here in Columbia. And we do not have time to lose. Let me be clear. Our greatest enemy isn't those terrorist groups I spoke of earlier. It's not Al-Qaeda and it's not ISIS. It's not the Nazi or even the disenfranchised individual who plans a shooting rampage. Our greatest enemy is our unwillingness to confront the reality before us that anti-Semitism, hatred, and targeted violence exist. It is in this our own denial. Every single time, those of us who have served in law enforcement and responded to a critical incident have heard one phrase: I never thought it could happen here. It can. And if we need a reason to confront this threat, to truly address it, I have one. I want you to think, as a society, what is our most important asset? So a podcast was posted to the website altright.com. It was a conversation between white supremacists in Charlottesville as they sat in their car near Congregation Beth Israel, which is the Jewish synagogue there. It's the oldest continuously operated synagogue in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is the podcast. I'm waiting outside the synagogue and a pool of Jewish children walked by. What do you call these people? A flock, a flight, a gaggle, a train car, a wagon load, a boxcar load? Our most important asset? Our children, our future. I believe we can face this threat and succeed because we've done so before as a country. On December 1st, 1958, a fire broke out in the Our Lady of Angels School in Chicago, where I'm from. It was the worst school fire in U.S. history. A total of 92 kids and 3 nuns lost their lives that day. It was international news. In the aftermath, sweeping changes were instituted in fire safety regulations across this country. A total of 16,500 school buildings were brought up to new fire codes in under a year. 68% of communities across this country implemented new safety fire regulations to include the modern fire drill that we all know today. We said as a country we were never going to allow this to happen again. And do you know how many kids we've lost in a school fire in this country in the last 70 years? 0. Not one. We made a choice that we could not fail, that our future was too important. And if you look around this room, when there's lights on, you will note that everything about this room is fire rated, from the chairs you're sitting on to the carpet that's on the floor, till the emergency signs that exist or the sprinklers. Those signs will be lit till the end of time. We made a choice that we would not fail, and it's exactly this type of commitment that we need to make as a community. To address the threats we face requires all of us, and we cannot afford to fail. The preparation needs to span from the receptionist to the rabbi and from our parents to our principals. And with the creation of a best practice community security program, you in Columbia have chosen to prepare. You are leading the way amongst federations and Jewish communities. And I'd like to thank Anna for her leadership, partnership, and friendship. I want to thank Kenny. That's deserving of applause, absolutely. As Anna mentioned, SCN serves as the official safety and security organization of the North American Jewish community. We are working in partnership with you to ensure that our Jewish community is as safe and secure as possible. For those who are unfamiliar with SCN, we're a nonprofit organization. We were formed under the auspices of the Jewish Federations of North America and the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations. Apparently the shorter titles were taken. We work on behalf of the 50 largest Jewish national nonprofits, the 145 other federations around the country in addition to the one here in Columbia, and over 300 independent Jewish communities, representing over 90% of the 7.2 million members of our Jewish community that live across North America. We serve as the Jewish community's official liaison with the federal government and law enforcement, specifically the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. Our mission is to ensure the safety and security and resiliency of the Jewish community across North America. But the goal is not merely to guarantee the security of facilities. It is not just to preserve life. It is to grow it, to ensure that our organizations and communities can not only exist but flourish, and with them, so too can our values, traditions, and culture for our children, our grandchildren, and those yet to come. We are accomplishing this by developing the comprehensive, consistent best practice approaches for safety and security that we are implementing in communities in partnership with federations just like you're having here in Columbia, executed by professionals who are dedicated to protecting the community. Professionals like your security director, Jay Roebuck. This is a necessity given the threats we face. Events like Pittsburgh, Poway, and Colleyville. Just like Israel has that Iron Dome, we are working to build that protective, proactive security shield across our Jewish community. Solutions that are tailored to each community, that are best practice, but are unique to every single community that we operate in. To give you a little bit of context, in 2017, there were just 22 professional security initiatives in our federations around the United States. That meant that just 5% of our community had access to a vital resource that had the potential to save lives. Working together, coming together as a collective community, and in just 4 years, we have dramatically changed the landscape. Today, there are 65 full-time professionally led community security initiatives across the United States, just like the one you have here. They are tied together through SCN's Jewish Security Operations Command Center, which is every day identifying incidents and threats on social media, the surface, deep, and dark web, and for community members just like you who see something and say something. 227,000 incidents, reports, and threats in the last 6 months. Over 4,400 that directly touched or impacted a Jewish institution. And we analyzed all of them. In the last 6 months, we have referred over 365 individuals or incidents directly to the FBI through a unique partnership that we have with them, a direct feed. And beyond the intelligence sharing, it's about providing best practice assessments, consultations on physical security solutions, and training, so that we can be sure whether someone is walking into a synagogue or a JCC in Chevy Chase, Maryland, Charleston, or Columbia, they are getting best practice training delivered by professionals who have been through crisis and know how to prepare our community. What we know, what we have all learned, sadly, is that often, as much as those of us who have served in law enforcement would like to be, we are not the first responders. In too many incidents that have occurred in our schools, houses of worship, and community centers, our first responders have been our teachers, our clergy members, our colleagues. It is not a job these individuals signed up for. It's not a job that frequently they've been trained for, but they have done it out of dedication, love, and devotion. Recognizing this, if we as a community are not providing our staff, our team members, our family members, and our community with the training, information, infrastructure, and tools they need to protect our organizations, themselves, and our children, then we are not doing our job. If we are not teaching people to include kids on what to do, we are teaching them to do nothing, and hope is not a strategy. Each year, we are now training more members of the Jewish community on safety and security issues than any other organization in the United States through our partnerships with federations. Over 34,000 people since Colleyville happened on January 15th this year. And these are individuals who are security professionals who are devoted to serving the community. It is this expertise, experience, professionalism which will be a key component of our security program working together going forward. Does it make a difference? When flyers appeared from the Goyim Defense League in Florida, California, Texas, and right here in Columbia, it was the network of professional security directors, to include Jay, who reported those to SCN's duty desk that allowed us to alert federal law enforcement and work with them. At SCN, we believe that we can make a difference, and each of you made a decision to commit to action by joining our collective federation system, and together we are making that difference. This program started in March of 2021. In just over 17 months, Jay has completed 20 assessments, to include 7 here in Columbia. He has trained over 850 people in courses such as Active Threat, Stop the Bleed, and other seminars. And if you have not been trained, it is my expectation that you are going to hunt Jay down after this event and ask him for training. He has conducted over 70 briefings with law enforcement. The total federal funding to make security enhancements for nonprofit and faith-based groups in South Carolina for 2022 was $2.96 million. This past grant year, Jay, supported by the Federation and our team nationally, helped with or supported assessments and applications which led to $1.3 million in awards to include those for Beth Shalom, our partners at Chabad, and $150,000 right here to improve the security at this JCC. 44% of all federal funding for the state went to Jewish organizations supported by this program, made possible by the Federation, SCN, and all of you. And that is something that we should all be proud of. This security program is second to none. Today, 100% of our communities across the country have access to our command center. Over 85% have access to a professional security resource. That is because of partnerships like the one that has been spearheaded here. We are fortunate to have a true professional, Jay Roebuck, to head up that effort. He has spent his career in law enforcement. He understands the necessity of this work. He is committed to it. He is ensuring every day that our Jewish community is prepared and protected. And he is supported by the entire team at SCN and your federation to make this a success. But he wouldn't be here. None of us would be if it weren't for all of you. You are an integral part of this secure community network, of our work and of our future. The operational model which we have built was designed to serve as a shield for the Jewish community. For all its successes, and it has been successful from Colleyville to Pittsburgh, we are not satisfied. The community is not yet where it needs to be. We need to push forward. Edmund Burke once noted that when bad men combine, the good men must associate, else they will fall one by one. For 3,000 years, we have faced threats. Working together, we have met them. And we can continue to do so, and we must. From large cities to small, urban to rural, across America, our Jewish community is increasingly under threat. Shortly after the shooting in Pittsburgh, I stood in the Tree of Life Synagogue. I took a siddur to say the mourner's Kaddish. It had a bullet hole in it. 6 months later, I stood in a synagogue in Poway, the Chabad there, a bullet hole through the door, leading to the sanctuary. After Colleyville, more bullet holes. We have a choice to make, to allow fear to win and hatred to prevail, or we can work together to empower our community, to stand strong, to be proud. We can summon the strength of our ancestors who persevered against empires, inquisition, exodus, extermination, and evil, who kept our traditions alive. And this is not about simply honoring those who came before us. It is about ensuring our way of life for those who come after us. Of all the things we do, from supporting social services to Israel, none of it will make a difference if Jews, out of fear, refuse to walk into our neighborhood and community institutions, send their kids to summer camp, or go and walk into a Jewish day school. I do not want my daughter to have to hide the name of the Jewish day school that is on her shirt. I don't want her to have to hide that she's Jewish. I don't want her to have to hide who she is. If we do not keep our synagogues, schools, and community centers and camps safe, then we are giving in. We must empower our community and provide a safe and secure future. When the lives of Jews are in danger or in peril, whether one or the collective, together we step up. For thousands of years we've been under threat, and for thousands of years we've persevered and thrived. This is a call to action. Together we look forward to answering that call in partnership with you. So let's get to work because we don't have time to lose. Thank you very much.
It's incredibly important work you're doing. And Michael, thank you so much for being with us. SCN's important, Federation's important, tonight's important, and the man that we're honoring is very important. Many of you know Bill. The way I first got to know him was I'd be at Beth Shalom in the middle of an afternoon. And it was basically the staff. Rabbi was there, Sarah was there, and then a lot of times I'd see Bill there. And he wasn't doing it for fanfare, he was doing it to serve community. And the more I've gotten to know him and the more I've gotten to know about him, the more I've gotten to realize that the standard he sets isn't just through what he gives, but through what he does. So thank you.
And now it's the moment that we all been waiting for, the moment that we honor Bill. And who is better to share a few words about Bill and his dedication to our community than his sister, Dr. Lila Filler. Dr. Filler, please, the stage is yours. Thank you.
What an honor and what a personal joy to be able to tell you about the 2022 Distinguished Service Award recipient, my brother, Bill Stern. As I thought about what I was going to say, I decided I would look up the definition of distinguished in a dictionary. And I quote, "It's successful, authoritative, commanding great respect, marked by eminence or excellence." That is the very definition of Bill. At a young age, Bill aspired to be successful, and he shadowed, watched, and worked with our dad, Ben Stern. The work ethic, the mutual respect of each other, and to those that they worked with was very apparent. Most of you know that our parents were Holocaust survivors, and their time to learn from and model after their parents was very limited. And yet, the important attributes of fairness, honesty, mutual respect, and justice were always a part of our lives growing up. Bill continues to exhibit these attributes, and those that know his boys, the three young men, know that they emulate the Southern European model. This has served Bill well as he catapulted the business from Ben Stern Construction to Stern Development. During this time, Bill was able to meet and work with national, regional, state, and local leaders. His influence in our state is immeasurable, but Bill shies away from the limelight. He always remembers his loyalties. Probably one of his most influential and lasting efforts was the formation of and then serving on the inaugural South Carolina Council on the Holocaust. Just 3 years ago, he was tapped as a presidential appointee to the United States Holocaust Memorial Council in D.C., a first for South Carolina other than state politicians. One cannot talk about Bill without mentioning his partner in life and in marriage, Linda Cherry Stern. Her positive influence is seen in Bill's demeanor and his decision-making, and of course, in the product of their three handsome, sweet, and devoted sons, Brian, Jason, and Benji. These three young men have also powerful role models in their parents and are now developing their own families with McCrae and Sarah. They have watched their parents actively work in the synagogue and in the Jewish community. They have seen the philanthropic efforts that have solidified the Beth Shalom Synagogue Foundation, the generosity to the Columbia Jewish Federation, and the less seen but equally important support of our Israeli family. What you may not know about Bill is that he's very sentimental, remembering, often verbatim, talks with our parents, especially with Dad, remembering dates and places, and checking on the rest of us siblings and nieces and nephews. It is not surprising to hear from my daughter Rachel that Uncle Bill was calling to check up on her health and her well-being, or a call to one of his many nephews to catch up on things. Bill is our go-to guy, and he always comes through. He usually has a contact in almost any aspect of life to which he can reach out, and he reciprocates with them. Bill knows how to read the room. He has a sharp wit and can be hysterically funny. He will often remain silent while others are hashing it out, and then he will speak softly until he doesn't. So the choice of William Harry Stern, Bill, was a good one. He fit the distinguished definition to the T. His community outreach and influence in all aspects fits the service component. And tonight we will present the Distinguished Service Award to him. Thank you to the incredible wise and thoughtful decision of the committee. Tonight you hit the jackpot. I love you, Bill, and I am so proud of all your accomplishments.
So, Bill, formally, I am here. I was asked to be here as a former DSA recipient and as a formal representative from the Federation to congratulate you on being selected for the Distinguished Service Award. But I want even more to tell you the honor that I feel in presenting the award to you as a member of our community, as a member of the Jewish community at large, and as a member of your community. Bill, congratulations on this well-deserved award. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you so much. I will. Thank you so much. Well, I can honestly say, wow. I mean, Naomi, thank you. My very dear sister, Lily, what an introduction. If you learned something tonight, get a family member to introduce you if you're getting an award. But again, Naomi, thank you. Lily, thank you for that introduction. Let me thank Kenny. I appreciate everything you do with Federation. I appreciate your dedication, your commitment. I thank your wife, Tracy, for giving you the ability to serve in that role. I want to thank the Federation Board, Anna, you, and the staff, the Planning Committee, especially Esther Greenberg and Marcy Baker. Let me also thank Naomi Farber, Shelley, Meredith Goldstein, again, Anna, and Allison. Tonight's beautiful, and the presentation is beautiful, and I'm really honored for the turnout. I'm honored to see family and friends in attendance, and I'm really humbled. And I'm also reminded that when you honor me, you honor my family. So on behalf of my beautiful wife, Linda, and my boys and my girls, we all thank you for this honor. I'm really, truly humbled. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is a dangerous place. Recently, we've seen an alarming surge of anti-Semitism in the U.S. Attacks on Jews in New York, L.A., rocket attacks on Israel, terrible atrocities committed in the Ukraine, rising inflation, over 2 years of a global pandemic. As a member of the United States Holocaust Memorial Council, I've become aware of the dangers posed to the local and global Jewish communities and the need for us to remain united as a community and support each other locally in Israel and around the world. The Jewish people are and always will be a family, and families come in all shapes and sizes with different views and opinions, but as different as we all are, we are all the same family, and family is bound together forever. To be a Jew is to be a link in the chain of generations. I often wonder what my dear parents of blessed memory and other survivors would say to our generation about our anxiety and worries over the state of our world today. We can only marvel at their courage, not only to survive the worst crime in history, but to come through it with enough confidence in the future to build a family, a business, and a successful life. In difficult times like these, we must remember the secret that holds family together, the special ingredients that make families effective, resilient, happy. Successful families tell a positive story about themselves. When faced with a challenge, we, the Jewish people, stand strong. We stand proud and find ways to add a new chapter to our people's story that shows us overcoming the hardship. Federation, with its slogans, Stronger Together, the strength of the people, the power of the community, and now let's go forward, is about building and nurturing our local and global Jewish family, reminding us that we are one people hardened through centuries of oppression, but never made bitter by our experience. When we forget that we are family, it's always tragedy that reminds us who we are. When Nathan Sharansky grew up in the Soviet Union, everyone had their nationality stamped on their passport: Russian, Ukrainian, Lithuanian. But if your passport had the word Jew stamped in it, it was like having a disease. No one wanted you. No one cared what happened to you. Recently, he witnessed thousands of people standing at the Ukrainian border trying to escape. They all had passports, but this time, there was only one word that could help them: Jew. If you are a Jew in the Ukraine today, you have a family beyond the border that cares for you. The world has changed. When he was a child, being a Jew in the Ukraine was the worst possible thing. Today, thanks to the work of so many Jewish organizations, including our very own Columbia Jewish Federation, it means you are a person with a home, with an entire nation that is your family, that waits for you on the outside. If we are to be a successful Jewish family, we must remember to tell the story of our ability to recover from difficult challenges. This will guarantee that our family will thrive for many generations to come. We do not start with nothing. We've inherited wealth, not material, but spiritual. We are heirs to our ancestors' greatness. We have a duty to them and to all past generations to pass it on. Again, on behalf of my dear wife Linda and my family, I really do, and I'm humbled, and thank you for this award.
Bill, those were very powerful words on so many levels. As a Ukrainian Jew, as an Israeli, and as a community leader, you summarized everything. It's from hiding to providing. And I'm so grateful to be part of this organization. Without the Columbia Jewish Federation, the Federation system, I wouldn't be here, because your support helped me and my family to move from Ukraine to Israel and to have the opportunity to fulfill our Jewish identity. So once again, I want to thank you all for taking part in this. And Bill, I want to thank you for all your support for the Jewish community at home, in Israel, and around the world. Thank you.
Because of my wonderful wife and her wonderful family, I got to spend about 11 days this past summer in Israel with Rabbi Hesh, who's going to come up momentarily. And when I was there, I thought back to an event, an Israel Bonds event down in Florida a few years back, and the person got up, and the person, her parents were Holocaust survivors. And what she said was for all those who say that Israel may not need us. Allow me to remind you that we'll always need Israel. And the fact of the matter is, being in Israel this summer, seeing the work that Federation does here in Israel and abroad, we continue to take steps to strengthen and secure our brothers, not only here, but there as well. And Rabbi Hesh, if you'd say a few words, and then Hatikva.
Bill, I think you're out here. I can't really see you, but again, congratulations, Mazel Tov to you, Linda, the boys, and your whole family on a richly deserved honor. I would like to say a few words about Israel. Jews have lived in virtually every land and every kind of circumstance, but in 4,000 years, there was only one space where we ever had a chance of creating our own society with our own values, and that, of course, is Israel. So thank God our parents' generation made sure that Israel was a Jewish state, and that's a miracle, and we need to celebrate that. Now our generation's job, with the leadership of Federation and its partner organizations, is to help Israel become a flourishing Jewish society based on the values of tzedakah, tikkun olam, and klal Yisrael. At this time of year, in the synagogues, we are reading, as Rabbi mentioned earlier so beautifully, from the book of Deuteronomy, a great book, highly recommend it. Amongst many things, it is a code for building a godly society here on earth. Moses teaches us how to treat our employees, how to create a successful financial aid system based on the idea of sharing agricultural produce with the poor, how to protect our environment by leaving the fields fallow, and how to develop a meaningful loan forgiveness program through the sabbatical year system. The whole book is a blueprint for a more just and a more caring society. Imagine how Israel might be seen if it could show the world a society driven by the concept of tzedakah, where nobody faced crippling poverty. Do you know how much poverty there is in Israel? As Kenny mentioned, we were in Israel this summer, and I spoke to people, and I could not believe how many people are dependent on soup kitchens just for their daily food. Israel shouldn't be like that. Imagine what Israel would look like if it were a place where Shabbos was not something just celebrated at home or in the synagogue, but as a society, reminding us weekly that we are judged more by what we give than what we make. Imagine Israel as one of the great world leaders in environmental protection. It's not hard. Israel was the first place in the world in the 1860s where people didn't cut down trees, but planted trees. The early pioneers took a barren landscape and made it a land flowing with milk and honey, a land of fields, forests, and farms. Israel could and should be recognized as the world's leading example of environmental concern. Of course, there are areas where Israel already does lead the world. Technological creativity. Here, too, we can show how that connects to our values like tikkun olam. Judaism takes the highest view of human beings. We believe that we are God's partners in the work of creation. And what a beautiful way Israel does that, through its advanced medical technology, information technology, nanotechnology, and its extraordinary agricultural expertise. So here are just a few ways in which Israel does and could not just be a place where Jews live, but where Judaism is a part of the culture, the ethics of business, the ethics of labor relations. So support Federation and its partner organizations and help us make Israel not just a place on the map, but the home of human hope. This is a challenge that would unite Jews throughout Israel and throughout the world as Klal Yisrael. It would also do so much for Israel's standing in the world of nations because, whatever your politics are, if you want to see what a small nation with no natural resources but plenty of Jewish values can do, go to Israel. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Epstein. If everyone could please stand for the playing of the Israel National Anthem, Hatikva, I hope. You may be seated. Every time I hear it, I'm proud to be a Jew. I'd like to welcome our community's newest rabbi, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity not only for the members of Tree of Life, but for those of Beth Shalom, Chabad, and those of all segments of our community. To welcome Rabbi Eric Oyarte. Rabbi, please, the benediction.
It's always a double-edged sword having the benediction because we have just heard from so many people. We've honored our guest, Bill Stern, with a very well-deserved award from, I've only been here for 2 months, so I had to learn very quickly. But I have no doubt that when we leave here after this benediction, that Mr. Stern is going to continue his amazing acts of service for which he is being distinguished tonight. I think of the words of one of our great sages, Rabbi Shimon the Righteous in Pirkei Avot, that the world, al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, the world rests upon 3 things, al haTorah, al havodah, al gimilut hasadim, Torah, service, and acts of loving kindness. I know that when we leave here tonight, Mr. Stern will continue to engage in the wonderful service that he has provided, that he has been inspired to do by his parents and his community, that all comes from Torah. I know that those acts of service will create gimilut hasadim, create loving kindness. And I ask all of us to look for those ways that we can bolster those 3 pillars, Torah, Avodah, and gimilut hasadim, so that when we leave here tonight, we leave here inspired by the award that has just been given, by the service that Mr. Stern has provided, not just the Jewish community here, but the Jewish community around the world. And we too are inspired to serve where we can in order to bring in gimilut chasadim, loving kindness.
Another wonderful addition. Welcome once again.
Oh, it's me. Thank you. Tonight, just like Federation's impact would not be possible without each one of you. I want to thank you all for joining us as we go forward.
We also want to give special thanks to Esther Greenberg, Marcy Baker, and our wonderful planning committee, our amazing Federation staff, our volunteers, which ranged from community stalwarts to Hillel students. There was also the generous donation from Alika Selig of Ali and Eloise Bake Shop with the treats at the back, and to everyone, every single one of us who took time out and dedicated time and talent to make this year's DSA one we will not soon forget.
I think we deserve a round of applause. So on this positive note, we want to wish you all good night, Laila Tov, and God bless. Thank you all.
the visionaries amongst us, for the dreamers and the pioneers, for those of us who won't rest because there's still work to be done, for the builders, for those of us who build bridges between peoples and ideas beyond traditions and neighborhoods, generations, genders, our narrative and theirs. From lockdown to reopening, from peace to war, from certainty to uncertainty. Here's to those who lead the way forward. Because of you, we are here, for those who still need help, for those who have never felt safe, for those who need to flee, and for those who don't know where to go. Because of you, we are here, before we are needed and when we are needed. For those who know us and for those who don't. For the hungry and the sick, the lonely and the scared. Because of you, we are here. So this is for the dreamers, the visionaries, the leaders, the ones who have never wavered, and the ones who never will. This is for you and all that you do. Now let's go forward.